Welcome to sunny Llandow for the second round of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship, a part of the road to MotoGP. Let's have a look at the MotoTeam class, and straight away let's dive into the commentary box. We are just getting underway with the warm-up lap for the MotoTeam race, where my name is Lewis Ray. I'll be joined by Alex Rizzoli. Alex, take us through the grid.
Yeah, so starting on pole position we have Darren Anderson in the number 133. Then lining up alongside him is Will Howarth in the number 96. Jason PUGH starts P3 and Dominic GARDNER starts P4. Ian Jackson starts P5 with the number 27 alongside Jamie King with the number 1 starts P6. Jack Andrews starts P7 alongside Phil MAPPLEBECK in P8. Scott JEWITT starts P9 and Iona GLOVER starts P10. Elliot NEWTON starts P11. Madison MARTLEW starts P12 and Charlie EMMS starts P13. Lewis, it's looking like it's going to be a very exciting race. As we know, the Moto teams maybe aren't the easiest ones to commentate, but how are you feeling about this race?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's been a close weekend. Even in practice yesterday, times were super close, especially between Darren Anderson and Will Howarth, which as they line up in the grid, you'll notice that once we see the front of the bikes, they are completely different. Darren Anderson is almost like a naked style front end 4-stroke motorcycle, where Will Howarth is more like a traditional race bike with fair ends, but is a 2-stroke, meaning it's two completely different bikes to ride. As we wait for the last few riders to make their way onto the grid, and we wait for the marshal to point up to the lights to get started for this race. We're just waiting for final confirmation. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is the MotoTeam race as we wait for the riders, as we wait for the lights to get on. Lights are on. Lights are off, away we go for the MotoTeam race. Darren Anderson gets a cracking start, but Will Howarth takes the inside for the first chicane. Will Howarth leads the way at this 2-stroke 15cc. Will Howarth leads the way. Darren Anderson closely behind, with Jason just behind in third place. Dominic GARDNER in fourth. Cracking get away from them all. Will Howarth still leads the way in the distinct bronzy gold colour bike. As they come out of the hairpin, Darren Anderson uses all the road usually coming out of here, but this is the first lap. They're all full attack. Darren Anderson is going to want to try to take the lead back. As we know, he's starting in pole position. He will not let us lie. Darren Anderson looking for a way past, but no one to get past for the chicane as we head onto the back straight now. Will the 4-stroke motor be able to power its way past the 2-stroke going down the straight? It does not appear so as we go around the final corner to complete the first lap, and it appears that Will Howarth will still lead the way.
Will Howarth having a fantastic start there on the 2-stroke bike. Darren Anderson just behind him, trying to find a way to get past him, but the 2-stroke just in its correct power band. But I say that, but Anderson actually looks like he's closing on the back of Will Howarth, which is going to be a very, very, very interesting lap here. So as we can see on the screen, we are looking at Anderson coming and trying to overtake Will Howarth as he comes now onto the one of the back straights into this little left-hander, right-hander section onto the Spitfire straight. Now let's see if Darren Anderson can have a very good exit. Let's have a look. No, it looks like Will Howarth is quite a while ahead. Yes, he's actually pulled a gap to Anderson in second place. So Will Howarth is now leading. We've got 10 laps to go. We are now in a state of the race which is very interesting, but there is a very, very close call there between two bikes. We are looking on board here through this corner here. It's a very, very, very close race so far. Will Howarth, though, does look like he's pulling more and more of a gap each time. Anderson trying to find a way this way, that way, trying to get in the slipstream of Will Howarth in the number 96, but the 133 there is trying to find a way to get through. This is Iona GLOVER, currently in 13th place at the moment, having a good little run there out of the first corner. So yeah, it is looking like a very good race. Oh, it is the number 133 of Darren Anderson is getting very close. Actually, I think maybe Howarth has had a little bit of a very interesting lap there. Lewis.
Yeah, Darren Anderson set the fastest lap of the race there, about 3/10 faster than Will Howarth that last lap. They've thrown the bikes about because, as mentioned earlier in the live stream, Will Howarth and Darren Anderson, all the riders here are all above the age of 16. Therefore, you know, maybe some of these bikes may seem a bit small for them, but they are throwing these bikes about, using all their body weight, pushing as hard as they can, cracking over the throttle as soon as they can. But Darren Anderson does have aerodynamics against him to come for a back marker. It's Iona Glover, and Will Howarth gets blocked by Iona Glover. There was nothing that she could have done. She stuck to her line, but this means that Darren Anderson now leads the way, but Will Howarth is diving up the inside, going to the final corner. Will Howarth hugs the inside, but will Darren Anderson get the switch back? It looks like he's trying, but the two strokes at the power band. Will Howarth leads the way with just 8 laps to go. This has turned out to be a cracking race. Will Howarth leads the way, as I said. Will Howarth now just needs to stay focused, stay calm, and will not let Darren Anderson pile on the pressure, but Darren Anderson will want to force him into a mistake. Darren Anderson taking a slightly tighter line, but using all of the exit there. I've been seeing that for the past 2 days now, that he's taken almost an extension of the track that is between the track and the curb. It's just trying to get as much momentum as Darren Anderson looks to be diving up the inside. As we see another back marker, will it get in the way? It's going on to the Spitfire straight. It doesn't look, so Darren Anderson is in the slipstream of Will Howarth, and he's diving up the inside, but to the final corner. Darren Anderson leads the way now. Will Howarth is trying to open up the throttle as much as he can on that two-stroke. Darren Anderson leads the way. This is a game of chess. Who will win it? Darren Anderson pushes as hard as he can, using all of his skill, using every single ounce of power, but Will Howarth will not let that lie. Will Howarth straight away is trying to get back up the inside and will not let Darren Anderson get the momentum. As you see another back marker here, one of the Aprilias. Darren Anderson gets past them, so is Will Howarth. It will not affect the race. 7 laps to go now. Darren Anderson still leads the way as they go through this chicane, which will then lead on to the back straight. Will Howarth will try his hardest to stay up with him, keep the pace. We may even say lap records get shattered in this race. They are pushing each other to the absolute limit. Will Howarth find no way past through the chicane. Darren Anderson keeping the line absolutely covered, and the power of his 4-stroke motor making it so that Will Howarth cannot get past. Darren Anderson leading the way with just 6 laps to go. He's trying as hard as he can. Will Howarth trying to find a way past, try to pile on the pressure, but Darren Anderson cannot let the lead get to his head and run wide and start missing braking markers, as that is how you lose lap time. Will Howarth set a personal best last lap, but still Darren Anderson was 1/10 faster. Darren Anderson once again using the track and some. They're trying to get absolute everything out of these motorcycles and out of themselves. Sometimes you see some of these riders with their naked motorcycles tucking in actually their arm and taking one arm off the bar temporarily to then make sure that they can get their whole body tucked in. As we head down the back straight, Spitfire straight to the final corner, Will Howarth is still behind Darren Anderson. Darren Anderson is making sure Will Howarth can find no way by.
Yeah, absolutely. That is really what Darren Anderson needed. Really, really good. And I believe, yes, that is a new lap record there, as we see a little bit of action there behind a back marker there. Darren Anderson shatters the race record by just under 1/10 of a second there. Will Howarth, and there has been a driver off. That is a 2-3-1. That is the 2-1-1. That is Dominic GARDNER. Dominic GARDNER has gone off just on there. But as we get back to the action on Darren Anderson and Will Howarth, coming through the left, coming through the right, onto the back of the Spitfire straight. It was a very, very good lap for Darren Anderson, trying to pull as much of a gap as he can to Will Howarth, but Will Howarth looking this way and that way, late on the brakes. Very, very, very well there. Very good, but it did look like Will Howarth did have a better exit there, and he's trying to gain and get in the slipstream of Anderson, but Anderson doing a really, really good job defending here. But if these drivers keep switching positions like they're doing, as we're saying, it's like a game of chess. It is going to be the driver who comes out on top and who will get the better run down the Spitfire straight and into the final corner if they can send one on the inside for Will Howarth at the moment. So we are 4 laps to go. 4 laps to go on this what has been another fantastic race, I have to say. It has been a really, really fascinating race. So the close battles on track, obviously Darren Anderson and Will Howarth between them. Another really close battle is Jamie King and Ian Jackson there, as we see. Oh, that was a very, very, very close move. Will Howarth is actually alongside Anderson now. Is he going to be able to get in just before turn one? No, he is not, but he is very, very, very close indeed. I don't know who I would put all my money on to win this race. These two drivers are incredible, and Will Howarth shatters the lap record that Darren Anderson just did. The lap record was a 51.621. It was a 51.551, and now it's a 51.358, and they are going side by side. It's bad marker territory once again. Anderson keeps ahead of Will Howarth, but if he keeps coming with back markers, if the back markers still are interfering with this race, for all we know, Will Howarth might win this race. We don't know yet, but he's going to go on the inside. It's 3 wide. It's 3 wide. He's going to send it into the final corner, and no, it is going to be Darren Anderson that keeps ahead. What a fantastic battle this is. Oh no, it's not Will Howarth just in the lead. Will Howarth has actually taken the lead of this race. Absolutely sensational. 2 laps to go. The next lap will be the last lap of this Grand Prix. Lewis, I don't know who to put my money on. Do you?
No, certainly not. Will Howarth leads the way. Darren Anderson leads the way. It's just been chopping and changing all race now. Back markers have been to play all this race. They've been pushing each other to the limit, and as I said earlier on in the race, lap records will be shattered twice in this race. We see a brand new lap record, and the lap record is about 3/10 faster than it was at the start of this race. Will Howarth still leads away from Darren Anderson. Darren Anderson looking down slightly at his bike, just trying to get tucked in as much as he can, just trying to let the helmet do its job to then go perfectly into the back of his aerodynamic hump. But Darren Anderson will not give up. Going on to the last lap, you can see that his back marker in front of Will Howarth. He will be begging that the back marker gets into play. As you see, Will Howarth trying to get on the grass, trying to get past the back marker, and he's done. But will this let Darren Anderson catch up? Yes, it will. Darren Anderson tried to go down the outside there, but no way past. As we head into the hairpin type section, Darren Anderson using all of the track and some to try and catch up Will Howarth again. As now we go into the final sector of the lap. Darren Anderson chasing Will Howarth as fast as he can, pulling the front as hard as he can, going through this left, right, left chicane. Darren Anderson cracking the throttle on. Will he make a dive at the final corner? It's Darren Anderson versus Will Howarth. It does not look like Darren Anderson can do anything. He's taking a much wider wedge, trying to get a better drive. But it's Will Howarth that wins the MotoTeam race, closely by Darren Anderson. What a race.
Absolutely. What a fantastic battle for the lead there. That just might be one of my favourite races I think I've ever seen. Constantly swapping positions for first and second place. Back markers getting in the mix as well, who I would argue maybe decided that race at some points there. You know, Will Howarth manages to get past Darren Anderson, and there he goes doing some celebratory wheelies, which I think well deserved at this point. Absolutely fantastic. A really, really fantastic drive from the number 96 there. That was a sensational race. It really was very, very exciting. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I hope all you listening and watching to this are as well. If you're trackside as well, absolutely fantastic. So the top 10 from that race, Will Howarth wins that race away from Darren Anderson by only under half a second. Jason PUGH starts, PUGH finishes P3, Jamie King P4, Ian Jackson P5, Jack Andrews P6, Scott Jewitt P7, Elliot NEWTON P8, Phil MAPPLEBECK P9, and Dominic GARDNER rounds out the P10. Madison MARTLEW P11, Iona GLOVER P12, and obviously that DNF retirement from Charlie EMMS. Wow, what a race! And the best thing is we get to see more action now.
Yeah, we certainly do, and we get to see the Moto teams back at it tomorrow for another 2 races, as is all the classes. It was a great race, which hopefully it should be as close. Because as we know, it has 2 classes in the Moto team, and although it has 2 classes, they are just as close to each other, with both Will Howarth and Darren Anderson being on completely different types of motorcycles and still being able to keep up with each other.
This championship just keeps giving and giving and giving. You know, we've had so many last lap dramas so far, and it's absolutely sensational. Absolutely sensational to see these, as we see the Moto team riders coming on to the grid. As we see, I think that's Will Howarth and Darren Anderson on the front row of the grid.
Yeah, Darren Anderson and Will Howarth had a great race yesterday. It was absolute heel to toe. There was nothing separating them. Even though they're on two completely different style of motorcycles, they were completely equal, and it was an incredible race from both riders. I mean, I do believe we'll see something very, very similar today. There's a complete mix-up in this grid. There's talent as well packed all the way throughout the grid. It should be a great race to watch, and definitely the top 3 or 4 can fight for victory, even the top 5, even the top 6, because in 6th place it's the last year's champions, which is on Jamie King's bike. Now if you look at that bike, you'll notice Jamie King is not on that bike if you know what his iconic levers look like, and that is because in this class, and whenever we look at the grid sheets and on the graphics, it is not the person that is riding the bike that you see on your starting grid. It is actually the owner of the motorcycle. So in first position we have Darren Anderson in pole position with Will Howarth in second, Jason PUGH in third with Dominic Gardner in fourth, Ian Jackson in fifth with Jamie King in sixth, Jack Andrews in seventh, Phil Maplebeck in eighth, Scott Jewitt in ninth, Iona GLOVER rounding out the top 10, Elliot NEWTON in 11th, Madison MARTLEW in 12th, and Charlie EMMS in 13th, rounding off the grid for this MotoTeam class. As we wait for the riders just to head round the one warm-up lap that they get put on the dummy grid and then put on the warm-up lap, just so the riders know where they're starting and get familiarised with that. So then as soon as they do their warm-up lap, they can go into the grid and get started without too much faff about. So we see the final riders just coming round to the grid now, so we can get started for what should be a very, very exciting race. Darren Anderson on pole position with Will Howarth in second. Will it be a different outcome from yesterday? There was absolutely nothing separating them as the marshal points up to the lights. Everyone stares at the lights, revs belt, tension belt, with the lights on, the lights off, and we go racing. It was a great start there from Darren Anderson, but Will Howarth takes the lead in first place with going taking the inside line. I believe that is a crash there for one of the Suzukis. Yet to know what rider that is, but the rider is clearly frustrated about what has happened. But Will Howarth leads the way from Darren Anderson. Darren Anderson will want to take back that victory. He will not go down lightly, as we see a red flag is now out. So just like the rookie race, riders now have to get a complete different mentality and get ready for this restart of the race, which should be happening very soon, as I can tell you that the riders up on their feet, as you can see now. So we're just waiting for the riders to come back round pit lane for the restart of the race.
Yeah. You know, it's a very interesting start to the race. You know, Darren Anderson had rather a good start there. Obviously, Will Howarth in second place, and the top 3 of Jason PUGH, who is in third place there. So as the riders come round to get back onto the grid for the restart of this race, but it certainly is a difficult race to commentate, isn't it, Lewis? It's a very difficult race, because obviously, as Lewis said, the riders aren't necessarily the names on the timing screens, so it does get a little confusing for us in the commentary booth every so often. But it's a fantastic race to see. You know, these bikes do look really cool. You know, some of them, especially Darren Anderson's bike does look very different, just because he doesn't run the front fairing like a lot of other drivers do. As we see them coming on to the start grid again, yes we do. Will Howarth is the first. Darren Anderson starts on pole position again. So yeah, it's a very interesting championship. This, you know, it's these bikes look really kind of cool. You know, they are a lot bigger than the Minimotos, to say the least, as you can tell on here. So as the marshal points to the lights, just waiting for the red light to come on screen. There we go. The red light is on. Its lights out, and go! As we see Darren Anderson getting a fantastic start there, but Will Howarth, I think, yes, Will Howarth just keeps the lead of the race with Jason Jason Pugh in P3, Ian Jackson in P4, Jim King P5, Phil Maplebeck in P6, Jack Andrews P7, Scott JEWITT P8, Elliot NEWTON P9, Iona GLOVER in P10, and then it is Madison MARTLEW in P11, Charlie EMMS in P12, Dominic GARDNER in P13. So as we see the riders coming round this section here into the very technical part of the circuit here. Here they go into the right-hander, into the left-hander just before the Spitfire straight. Let's see if any of these drivers can maybe send a move into the final corner. Let's have a look. No, it seems to be Darren Anderson, Will Howarth, who has retaken the lead. These two are having a fantastic scrap. And yeah, I think, yes, it's going to be Will Howarth who does take the lead away from Darren Anderson. And Jason Pugh in P13, Ian Jackson P14, Phil Maplebeck and Jack Andrews up a position. Jamie King has lost a few positions there.
Yeah, Jason Pugh will be just hoping that Will Howarth and Darren Anderson do what they did yesterday, and that is fight and trip each other up, which is going to slow down their lap times and bring Jason Pugh back into play, which means we can potentially see a free bike battle for the win in this class, or even more. That's the great thing about this class. We just do not know what's going to happen. Will Howarth and Darren Anderson, throughout all of LID and throughout all of Llandow so far, they have been inseparable. The race yesterday was crazy to commentate on. I mean, Will Howarth has shown great pace. He's not only racing this class, he's also in senior Minimotos, so he has plenty of experience in the track today. He knows what the track feels like. He knows what conditions are like out there. Darren Anderson is still just trying to get a feel of things, but Darren Anderson is not to be counted out yet. It's less than a second gap, as we see Jason Pugh on the screen, with Ian Jackson battling for that final podium position on the Suzuki and a Honda, I believe that is there, fighting for the final position in third. They will want that. They will fight as hard as they can for that. All throughout this grid, there is battles everywhere. Even for the final position, there's currently a battle going on. It is great to see so many different levels of talent and so many different types of bikes, but yet it still produces great racing.
Yeah, absolutely. As we were watching the battle with Jason Pugh and Ian Jackson for the final podium position here. Jason Pugh is the red bike with black leathers. As Ian Jackson, you can see, is a little bit more of a flare there with the blue and the green and the white. So it's quite easy to distinguish these two drivers there as they both come across the line. Are they going to be able to get a move done, or is Jason Pugh going to remain ahead? Will Howarth has set the fastest lap with a 51.289, which is a very fast lap indeed. Can Darren Anderson maybe match it coming into the next lap? 7 laps to go so far, as we now see a little move or an attempted move between the number 14. This is between Jamie King and Jack Andrews. Jack Andrews is the bike ahead. The number 1 is Jamie King there, as you can see. Team Jamie King, as we see. There we go. The Jack Andrews there, and the rider on Jamie King's bike is going very rapidly, trying to get some move there. As you see, Jack Andrews trying to come into the final corner. He does manage to stay ahead from Jamie King.
Yeah, Will Howarth actually on that last lap was, I believe, the first time this race that he didn't set the fastest lap. He is absolutely on it. Straight for the first lap, he set fastest lap, then fastest lap, then fastest lap. It is amazing to see. Darren Anderson is 1.5 seconds back now, so there's a decent sized gap. So Will Howarth will know, he'll maybe have a lot of look behind him on the circuit and be able to realise that right now the race is all in his control. It's all in his favour. All he needs to do is make it to the end of these 6 laps, which is about to be 5 laps as they come at the final corner of this Llandow circuit, and then makes it round to this first technical sector. This track is so technical, especially for these bigger motorcycles, as these bikes are road bikes basically, with lights removed, some fairings put on it, or in Darren Anderson's case, fairings took off it and then they went racing. I mean, it's such a cost-effective way, as we have here at FAB. There's so much cost-effective and money-saving measures that are taking place, so then we can get these young, so we get more young talents in, and people like this are able to have fun for cheap on a racetrack, which is all why we race. As we see Will Howarth, coming through some back markers. I don't think it should hold him up too much as he managed to get past them on the straight, but this may play in Darren Anderson's favour as we head down. Will Darren Anderson get past the back markers well at the hairpin? Darren Anderson looks to be held up slightly there by one of the back markers, but Will Howarth currently leads the way by 1.1 seconds now, so I believe lost 4/10 there by getting held up by the back markers. This is where the race starts to get interesting as back markers come into play. As Will Howarth, I believe he has an issue or he's missed a gear. Will Howarth has slowed down and now Darren Anderson is retaking the lead of this race with just 4 laps to go. Yeah, I believe he just missed the gear coming out of that corner, maybe hit a false neutral. Will Howarth is going to try and get the lead back straight away. Darren Anderson will be thinking all his Christmases came at once, but Darren Anderson runs wide. He looks to his right, he sees Will Howarth has went back up the inside. Will Howarth takes the lead of the race again as we head to the Spitfire straight with just 4 laps to go. Will Howarth leads the way, but Darren Anderson is trying to get his slipstream, trying to get everything tucked in as we head down to the final corner. Darren Anderson taking a slightly wider line, trying to carry more corner speed on his 4-stroke motorcycle. These are 2 completely different styles of bikes as Darren Anderson has a massive moment there going into the first corner. His rear end flicked around slightly, he saved it, he's still in the race. He's going to try and regain his composure and go again and push. Will Howarth leads the way now. The gap has widened. He will not know just yet, but he may have a little look round coming out one of these hairpins, or he will just push on, try as hard as he can, push the bike to his limit. He will know there's nothing between himself and Darren Anderson. With just 3 laps to go in this race, Will Howarth still leads the way.
Absolutely. Both drivers making mistakes there from both of them, which obviously is allowing them one to pass the other. There is 20 seconds between Jason Pugh and this battle for the lead of the race, which Will Howarth currently leads. We've got Darren Anderson just in tow. They are no more than 3/10. Yes, they are 3/10 of a second. That must have been a very, very sketchy moment for Darren Anderson. Not too sure what he thought there coming into the first corner. Is very, very twitchy on the rear. As we see Will Howarth getting his knee right down against the floor as he has to shift his body weight through the left-hander, through the right-hander. But this is Darren Anderson very, very close to the back of him now. Fairing, or I should say lack of fairing, to that. And is Darren Anderson going to go on the inside? Yes, he is. What a move for the lead. Darren Anderson retakes the lead of this race, coming through the left-hander, now the right-hander, onto the back of Spitfire straight. Can Will Howarth get a much better run? He's on the inside. They are side by side, going down the Spitfire straight. Who is going to go into the lead? And the first corner, it's Will Howarth. Wow, absolute sensation, but they're side by side again. Wow, I've never seen racing like this. This is fantastic. And it's Darren Anderson who keeps the lead of the race after a fantastic side by side move from Will Howarth. And the best news is, this is the last lap of the race. This is sensational. And there is a bar marker. Oh, is he going to hold up any of the riders? I don't think so. But Darren Anderson is still in the lead of this race. Can Will Howarth do anything to try and get past him in side by side once again? This is absolutely sensational. Really, really fantastic, respectful racing between these 2 riders. This is absolutely incredible. Coming down into the Spitfire straight, I believe it is coming up. Yeah, as they go down, it could be side by side. Is it going to be side by side? No, it's going to be Darren Anderson who will take the checkered flag only by less than 3/10 of a second on that last lap. Absolutely sensational riding from both of those drivers there. Lewis, once again, last lap drama. Racing doesn't get any better than this, does it?
Yeah, it's been some great races today. Darren Anderson has won. Once again, Darren Anderson, the 133 bike, has won the race. He is absolutely delighted with this. He's waving to the crowd that is watching here. Will Howarth will also be happy with 2nd place, but we're just waiting for the last few rounds. Jason Pugh comes across the line with Ian Jackson getting 4th, Jack Andrews in 5th, Jamie King's bike in 6th. As we look, Darren Anderson takes the race win by just 3/10 of a second, with Will Howarth in 2nd place, Jason Pugh in 3rd, Ian Jackson 4th, Jack Andrews 5th, Jamie King 6th, Phil MAPPLEBECK 7th, Elliot NEWTON 8th, Scott JEWITT 9th, and Madison MARTLEW in 10th. And once again, a quick reminder, that is the team owner and the owner of the bike that's name is up there, not necessarily the person riding it. But as you can see, first and second, talking over the race. Great camaraderie that they have here. They're good mates off track. It was such a good race. Darren Anderson, the first turn, just got the bike a bit out of shape. But one thing to remember is he is on a 4-stroke, Will Howarth is on a 2-stroke. The 4-strokes have a lot more engine braking, while the 2-strokes have almost next to none. So when you're tipping in the corner on a 4-stroke, it is sometimes likely that the rear end is able to come round with just how strong the engine braking can be. While with the 2-stroke, you're using the brakes a lot more. It can be a lot more settled on the brakes, as you know, you just don't have that engine braking going for your rear wheel. And a slightly more confusing race for you to watch is now the MotoTeam class. Now this class, which we've seen some great races all weekend. The first 2 races have went down to the wire between Darren Anderson and Will Howarth. Will Howarth, of course, racing also in the senior Minimotos. So Will Howarth this will not be his last race today, but for majority of riders it will be. So they will want to win the last race of the day before we go to Elliot Park for the next round of the championship. Darren Anderson leads the way on this formation lap as he will start this race on the front row. But in pole position will be Darren Anderson with Will Howarth in second place, Jason PUGH in third, Dominic GARDNER in fourth, Ian Jackson fifth, Jamie King sixth, Jack Andrews seventh, Phil MAPPLEBECK 8th, Scott JEWITT 9th, Iona GLOVER 10th, Elliot NEWTON 11th, Madison MARTLEW in 12th, and to round off the grid it's Charlie EMMS. Now, one thing to note with this MotoTeam class, as we mentioned for every single race, just to remind the viewers at home if you're new to this series, that the names on your screen and the names on the timing screen are the owner of the bikes and teams and not necessarily the person riding it, which can make it quite confusing. But I can tell you that Jamie King will not be racing in this race. Obviously last year's champion, but his bike will still be racing with someone else riding it. So we will wait for the lights to start this race.
Yeah. It's going to be a very, very interesting race indeed. If you were watching this race earlier, you'll know that this was a battle and a half between Darren Anderson and Will Howarth. One of the races decided on the last lap, which was absolutely fantastic to see. So the marshal points at the lights, and here we go once again for the racing action and the final race for the MotoTeam. Red light is on and it's red light out, and it's going to be Darren Anderson that gets a very good start side by side with Will Howarth. Will Howarth will take the lead of this race. Absolutely sensational to see everyone getting through the first few corners. Nice and lovely. We've got the 333, I believe that is, stalled on the grid, or the 231, sorry. Charlie EMMS, he is stalled on the grid and currently is trying to run it, but as we see, Darren Anderson and Will Howarth battling for P1. Fantastic to see so far. So Darren Anderson is currently, Will Howarth is currently in the lead of this race, but Darren Anderson trying to get that position back. You can see the key differences between the two bikes. Darren Anderson is the second car there. You can just see there the 133 doesn't have a fairing, which is a bodywork on the front of the bike, whereas Will Howarth does in the really nice grey kind of coloured bike. As we see, Will Howarth obviously in the lead of the race with a 53.793. In second place we have Darren Anderson, who is obviously in P2. Jason PUGH is in P3. Ian Jackson in P4, who has taken fourth place from Dominic GARDNER. Jamie King is in P6 with Phil MAPPLEBECK in P7. Jack Andrews in P8. Scott JEWITT in P9. Elliot NEWTON in P10. Madison MARTLEW in P11, and obviously Charlie EMMS, not too sure whether he managed to get going or not, but he rounds out the top 12.
Yep, certainly Will Howarth leads the way. He is trying to control this race. He's got a decent gap over Darren Anderson right now, so with just 9 laps to go, he's going to want to try and just control this race, keep it how it is. Although as much as it would be great racing for Darren and for Will Howarth to then well, getting a great battle as we've seen this weekend with Darren Anderson. Will, however, want to keep it quite distant, as right now the gap is 1.5 seconds. But there is still 8 laps to go in this race. There's so much that can happen, and as we've seen the last race, back markers can make such a difference. Back markers can decide your race. I mean, it just depends how lucky you are and when you catch it and how you deal with it. You can be quite impatient when it comes to back markers, and that can cause someone to even crash and lose a lot of time. You just need to be patient, bide your time, and see what happens. As we see Jason Pugh and Dominic GARDNER fighting it out for 5th place right now. But this is a great battle going on right now. So Jason Pugh currently leading the way. He will not want to let Suzuki in front of him, but 7 laps to go. He's looking down the inside. Jason Pugh still leads the way on his, I believe that is a Honda that he is racing at this championship. This championship has such a selection of motorcycles. I mean, there's from Aprilias to Hondas, from Suzuki's, from 2 strokes to 4 strokes, from naked style bikes, from traditional road bikes. It's such an affordable way to go racing. It's such a close battle that you get on track. There's battles all the way from 1st all the way down to your 10th, your 11th, right all the way down the order. It is such good racing. Only 7 laps to go in this race. Will, however, still leads the way with also the best lap with a 51.7, and I believe this gap may just be starting to widen at the front. As you see Jason Pugh going down the back straight, the Spitfire straight, heading into the hairpin. The hairpin, you don't want to go too tight at this corner. It can be quite bumpy, and you want to get a good drive. You want to be able to get a nice flowing exit on these lower powered machines, rather than on a more powerful bike where you'd set up onto the fat part of the tyre and to get the power out of it. These bikes are not the same amount of power, so it's all about your momentum, all about your corner speed. Because if you're new to motorcycle racing, whenever you're on the side of the tyre and your bike is on its side, the revs stay up higher for longer, and whenever you go in the throttle, it's easier to get higher up in the rev range rather than just when the bike's setting up. So these riders try to keep it on tyre as much as possible, with as much throttle as possible. But Darren Anderson, it's just showing everyone that he is currently the best at doing that. His bike has run flawlessly as well as he comes across the line right now. We're just looking at the timing screens, and the gap's now 2.2 seconds as Jason Pugh is still in this battle for the final podium position.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Pugh in P3, under attack from Ian Jackson in P4 with Dominic GARDNER in P5, and it looks like they are very, very close, very to rear wheel as per usual with these 2 drivers. Jason Pugh is really trying to mount an insurmountable defence, if you like, but it looks like Ian Jackson is piling on the pressure, and it's very interesting to watch, certainly from our perspective as well as yours, which, you know, it could provide a very interesting finish to this race. So 5 laps to go, and the most interesting battle on track is actually Ian Jackson. Ian Jackson has overtaken Jason Pugh, which is very interesting indeed. The defence works very well, but is Jason Pugh going to be able to get the run down? And it looks like Jason Pugh is going to be overtaken by Dominic GARDNER as well. Has he got a problem? I'm not too sure. There we go, and I think he's keeping that position. I say that, but they go side by side. It's the first corner. No, Jason Pugh keeps position for P4. So Ian Jackson up into the podium position. Dominic GARDNER trying to attack Jason Pugh. Obviously seeing that there is some point where he's had a weakness, or maybe a moment, or maybe he's ran a little bit too wide, or something like that. But it's going to be very interesting to see if Ian Jackson can keep his position, or whether Jason Pugh, can keep ahead of him. Will Howarth still leading this race from Darren Anderson in P2. In this race, Will Howarth has managed to pull quite a bit of a gap on Darren Anderson, who just crosses the line now. 2.7 seconds separates these 2 riders. As we see, yeah, that's Will Howarth still. As we see the battle for 3rd here's just coming over the line now, which is incredible to see just where Anderson and Howarth have gone. There we go. So 18 seconds between Ian Jackson and Darren Anderson in 2nd, or 22.8 seconds from the leader to 4th position, which is very interesting. It's a big distance. Is 22 seconds. Obviously the best lap currently being made by Will Howarth, a 51.7. 7.63, which is very interesting. The last lap was the last lap record was a 51.621, so he's only a 10 off of the lap record, which is incredible to see. So still watching Darren Anderson now. Can he do anything to catch Will Howarth, or is Will Howarth in a class of his own with 2 laps to go? So when Will Howarth comes to the line, this will be his last lap as we see him move down into there. As we just pan to it, there we go. So that is Jason Pugh losing another position there. Dominic Gardner does get past him, which is very, very, very good for Gardner and Jackson. Obviously Jason Pugh losing positions by position, so maybe he has got a problem. Maybe he's just a bit tired. You know, he's been doing a lot of riding today. Maybe he's just making a few mistakes, which happens to us all, as we see Will Howarth lapping a back marker there as the 133 of Darren Anderson sends it inside, and there we go. The last lap mark, the last lap flag has been shown to Will Howarth. Darren Anderson only a couple of seconds behind him, as we see. You know, anything can still happen in this race. Could Will Howarth maybe make a mistake? We're not sure. Could Darren Anderson get this? As we are looking here at Will Howarth, which is very interesting, as we see Jason Pugh just retaking P4 from Dominic Gardner. So he's clearly, I think I'm right there, not too sure. As we see Will Howarth coming around this section, the right, the left, and the right again, as there's a back marker coming on to Spitfire Straight, as Darren Anderson is just behind him, but Will Howarth powers down into the final corner, and it's going to be a fantastic win for Will Howarth, who wins the final race of the MotoTeam Championship, as Darren Anderson comes in for a very respectable second place. Ian Jackson, we're going to have to wait quite a while, so I think it's about 20 odd seconds until Ian Jackson comes to collect his third place and podium position. But let's see if Jason Pugh has managed to maybe overtake Dominic Gardner. Not too sure then. I think Dominic Gardner has just managed to do that, as we see Ian Jackson taking the flag to get the final podium position of this weekend in the MotoTeam class.
Yes, certainly. It was a great race. Will Howarth takes the win by 2.6 seconds from Darren Anderson, and then Ian Jackson takes home the final position on the podium. Dominic Gardner 4th, Jason Pugh 5th, Phil Maplebeck 6th, Jamie King 7th, Jack Andrews 8th, Scott Jewett 9th, and Elliot NEWTON runs out the top 10. That was a great race. I mean, you could hear from the commentary box and through the cameras that Will Howarth's bike is all singing and dancing. It is doing what he wants when he wants. Coming out of the first chicane there, he was getting the front end up a little bit. He was pushing the bike to its absolute limits. I mean, everything he wanted the bike to do, it did. And that is what you want in a race bike. It gives you trust, and it gives you the feedback that you want to be able to go fast.
And that is the amazing action here at Llandow. What an absolutely fantastic day of racing. Join us next time for round 3 at Ella Park. Thank you for watching.
On the road to MotoGP, this is FAB-Racing.